Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Chris Eubank has been not just proposed, but apparently has the inside track as the next opponent for Canelo Alvarez. And this has come as a bit of a shock to many, myself included, because only a couple of days ago it was either going to be Charlo, the one that he hasn't fought yet, who's got all sorts of issues outside the ring and has fought once in however many years, 3 years, or Edgar Berlanga, which was a sort of acceptable but rather uninspiring choice. Well, Eubank Jr. is, having left Wasserman, is currently a free agent. He's not obliged to appear on any specific, broadcasting platform, or he's not promoted by anyone. So the one thing about that is you are free to negotiate your own fights, your own purses and so on, which can work both ways. I mean, Dillian White did this just as another example, did this for many, many years and continues to do it. So it can go both ways. It can work for you or it can not work for you. If Eubank Jr. at 34 manages to negotiate, a big chunk of money against Canelo Alvarez, then clearly it's worked in favour of him. The question is, can he win the fight? Well, there's a couple of questions. Can he win the fight? And is it a cash out? Is it a cash out amount? Because at 34, Eubank is probably past his prime, although some people do retain their prime into their mid-30s, usually if there aren't that many miles on the clock. Now, Eubank Jr. turned pro in 2011, and his last two fights were against Liam Smith. He lost the first by 4th round technical knockout, and he won the second by 10th round technical knockout. And both those were in 2023, last year. Prior to that, he went the distance with Liam Williams, last seen being blown away and around by Hamza Shiraz. But if you look through his resume, it's kind of uninspiring. I mean, he beat the remnants of James DeGale when DeGale was clearly at the arse end of his career. He has campaigned at 168 before, hence the DeGale win. He also lost on points to George Groves. That was a challenge for the WBA super middleweight title. He was the first person to beat Avni Yildirim, for what that's worth, but he did it over in Yildirim's backyard. I think it was in Stuttgart, in Germany. Arthur Abraham, who was at the back end of his career, lost a decision to Eubank. I mean, I'm going back to 2017, so I'm going back, 7 years. But has there really been much inspiring about Eubank? Prior to that, we're talking, Gary O'Sullivan, Spike O'Sullivan, he stopped him in 7, and I think he stopped Nick. Yeah, it was 10 rounds, wasn't it? He stopped Nick Blackwell, and then when there was the injury to Blackwell and Dmitry Chudinov, he stopped him. Lost to Billy Joe Saunders, a split decision. Who am I missing out? Oh, of course, Tyann Booth. No, I'm just kidding. But you've got these names which are sort of relatively well known. There are a couple of former world champs there, DeGale and Abraham, past their best. But his career, for the most part, has just been quite uninspiring, and that's because it's stop-start. And I can't help but get back to when Eubank was in the Matchroom stable and when they cut that deal to fight Golovkin. Do I think he'd have beaten Golovkin? No, I think he'd have been stopped. But if he'd have put up a very, very good showing, kind of like... what's the heavily tattooed American did? Forget his name now. If he'd got stopped, say, on his feet and put up a really good performance, he could have done. His stock could have risen, and he could have been a serious player on the world stage. I mean, now he's not on the world stage to any degree. No one cares about Chris Eubank Jr. So I'm a little surprised that he's been put forward as a voluntary for Canelo, because is this going to sell? Well, you can say, well, it's Canelo. Canelo can fight, you know, your 86-year-old gran who lives down the street and walks with a Zimmer frame. But even so, what does Canelo get out of knocking out CHRIS EUBANK Jr.? If he goes the distance, people will probably say, well, you should have got rid of him. Kind of like they did with John Ryder, excuse me. I just find this whole thing really a real strange sort of out of left field development. Unless Canelo is looking for an easy gig, or he perceives to be an easy gig, because if he takes Eubank Jr. lightly, and Eubank Jr. if this is not a cash out and Eubank Jr. is coming to win, you just never know. I mean, bigger upsets than CHRIS EUBANK beating Canelo have happened in boxing. So I kind of, I think it's a strange one. Maybe Eubank Jr. is taking a couple of million less than anyone else is prepared to take. You know, you get paid, I don't know, 8 million quid instead of 12 million quid. It's still 8 million quid. It's still a lot of money. But it isn't a fight I find particularly inspiring. I mean, in Britain, it has some sort of attention because it's the Eubank name and it's Eubank Jr. and he is, in a different way, a kind of enigmatic figure, different way to what his dad was. But outside of the UK, I can't see anyone caring about this. I mean, Eubank Jr. was, as we know, there was all sorts of talk about him fighting Conor Benn, and that could have happened, you know, relatively recently. I mean, that could have been and gone if Eubank had been prepared to accept the money that Hearn said he offered. But maybe he thought, no, I've got bigger fish to fry, I'll go for Canelo. And if he pulls it off, can't knock it. Fair play to him. But does it have any intrigue, this fight? I suppose if it was to come off, if it was, maybe it's to lure Canelo to Britain. Now, if it was in Britain, yeah, people would turn out to see Eubank fight Canelo, no question. So maybe that's the angle. I mean, all will become clear over the next few days, no doubt. But just if Eubank Jr. pulls this off, him and his team deserve kind of kudos for having played the game, for having rejected all the conventional promoters. As old man Eubank was always saying they should, go your own way, be your own promoter, be your own manager, etc. The first pound should go to the fighter. If he pulls this off, that's impressive. That's impressive. But we'll see what happens. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? Do you like the fight? Are you interested? Are you not interested? As usual, leave your comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like it. And also subscribe to the channel if you're new, and spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. Repost the video, spread the word, do all that good stuff. You know that drill. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Looking forward to reading what you got to say. And I'll catch you later. Bye for now.